Hi, welcome to CoderDojo Virtual Edition. My name is Lori. This is session 2 of our fall session. Today we'll be taking what we learned last session about HTML, and we'll be actually inputting data into our very first website. Building a website using HTML. Last session, we learned how to type in a declaration line, and we learned that this line will always be the first line in our HTML code. We then started with an HTML opening tag and also put in our HTML closing tag. We're going to go back into our notepad or text edit, whichever you are using based on the computer you are accessing. If you're on a Mac, you'll be using text edit. If you're using a PC, you'll use notepad. We did not save any code from last session, so today we will retype the declaration line and the opening and closing HTML tags, and then anything else we add this week, we will actually save in a folder so that when we come back to it, we pick up where we left off. Next, we will add our HTML element, angle bracket, HTML. We learned that for each element, we have to have an opening and closing tag. Here's our opening tag. Our closing tag would be the same. The only difference is we would add a backslash prior. Remember, the HTML element simply tells our browser what kind of files are going to be in our website. And so we have an opening tag and then lots of space for our content before the closing tag. So now we'll enter our new section, and this is the first real section of our website, and it's called the head section. We always need an opening tag. There it is. And a closing tag. Closing tag is the same as the opening tag, but it has a backslash in front. The only thing in this section is information that does not show up in your website. The one thing we will put in at this point is the title section, and the title will be embedded in the head section. Once again, in order to embed the title section here, we need an opening tag and a closing tag. The title is not the title that will show up on our website, but rather the title that will show up in the web browser when we go to our site. So let's give a title that we would like to show up in the web browser. And for the sake of argument, let's call it My Web Page. Let's now start the body of your web page, which is really where the meat and potatoes of your website will be. So, like always, we'll need an opening tag. It's called body. And we'll need a closing tag. Don't forget the backslash. Goes right in here. And this is where we're going to put all of the content that we want in our website. Everything that we want to display to our reader will happen between this opening tag and closing tag. For today, we're going to add a heading and some text. You'll notice we've already used the tag head, so our heading inside the body uses the tag H1. There's our opening tag. Let's make the closing tag. And what this is going to do is make a highlighted, an accented, larger text title within the body of your website. So the website's called My Web Page. Let's do the first section, all about me. So that's our first heading. The next So we have a title, all about me. Now let's enter a paragraph. The all about me paragraph will start with a P tag. P stands for paragraph. There's our opening tag. We now need to do our closing tag. What are we going to say all about me? Well, I am a 10-year-old elementary school student. We all know that's not the case, but that's what our paragraph is going to say. Let's add another headline, and this one will be called H2. This title, this headline, will be slightly smaller or in some way less of an accent than H1. So H1 was all about me. H2 is going to be what I like. Don't forget our closing tag. There's our next tag, what I like. Let's now do a paragraph about that with an opening P. I love sports and movies. Closing P tag. Our next task for today will be to render this website, meaning showing it in a browser. First, we'll go to File, click Save. We'll save it on our desktop. We'll call it Test, and it must end with HTML. Save. We'll go to our desktop and look for the file that we titled test.html. Double click the file, and here is our first website. You can see H1 is very bold and large. Here's paragraph 1. Here's H2, so smaller than the first one, and paragraph 2. In future sessions, we'll learn how to insert an image, how to color our text, format it attractively, and all the variety of things we like to see in websites. For this week, if you would like to continue practicing, we can have headings up to H6. Experiment with how it changes headings from H1 to H6. Make some interesting headings, make longer paragraphs, and really fill out your website so that we have a lot to work with when we join again and add to our existing website.